You're
focus on that.
talking about the plan. Welcome, everybody, as you
Yeah,
come
yeah.
in. Give Xander and I a bunch of hearts and love. And
Hey,
Xander,
hey.
you're talking about the plan pre-election day, election day, and then post. Tell me
Yeah,
what
I
you're.
would even say election day. Yeah, I mean, pre-election day, just to the extent of organizing for election day, but really the day of election, protecting the vote day of election, and post
Yeah,
contested election, failure to see the scenarios you and I were going out
yeah.
chatting about yesterday, and then some, right? If you're going to do an economic boycott, how is it executed? Who's executing it? Who is
Mm.
already organized into it? Who needs to be organized into it? You know, if that's the lever we're pulling, targeted strikes probably work better than general strikes in America. So that means there's some really there's some true VIPs to getting that done. So, anyways, I'm
Yeah.
focused on all that, but I had a big question for you today as I was thinking about these scenarios. Like Trump has had this whole political party, your former party, kind of fall in line. And I was curious, as a former congressperson, what do the mechanics of that look like? Like people get elected from all over the country. They head to Washington with their issues and with their constituents. It's not like everyone gets elected as a Trump Republican, especially your first time through, right? And so, but what does that look like? And I imagine it looks different for different people. Like, it looks different to get the Speaker of the House on your side as Trump, in the executive branch. And it looks different as, I don't know, a freshman congressperson to go from, I'm genuinely going to be fighting for my community or my priorities to, I'm just going to be a lackey and I'm not going to push back even after I see red line after red line get crossed. Like, what is the pressure that can be applied to these people and how does it work?
That's a cool question. Let me respond broadly with 3 points. Kind of like AD and BC. We're talking about before Trump and after Trump.
Right.
I got elected before Trump. And before Trump, as a Republican, you were defined by where you stood on the issues. You were either a crazy conservative or you were an establishment rhino Republican, but it was always based on the issues. Post-Trump, issues are not even a factor here. You are defined as a Republican by where you stand on Trump. I can't emphasize that enough. So any Republican running in the age of Trump and trying to get elected in the age of Trump must bow to Trump, no matter where they stand on the issue. Second point, I know I've said this to you before, none of my former colleagues fear Trump. They've told me that privately for 8 years. They fear the base. Trump has a unique hold on the base. So their entire be-all, end-all is to keep the base happy and to keep the base behind them. To do that, they have to worship Trump because he really is their leader. Respond to those two, because that really defines who you are as a Republican. And again, Xander, it's changed. In the before Trump times, I went to Washington to raise fucking hell and burn that city down and reform and do something about the debt and all. And leadership hit us over the head to try to keep us in line and all the rest. And they've got a lot of things they can do to hit you over the head. But it was all issue based. But since Trump, your allegiance is to Trump. So Trump holds that over you.
How closely
Completely.
related are that first and second point? Is your allegiance to Trump because his base is your voters essentially now?
Yes.
Or got it. It's not
Yeah.
other mechanisms. So it's not the old school Washington. Hey, we are going to, like, what does Speaker Johnson say to I'm a Matt Gaetz or Marjorie Taylor Greene Republican who's starting to have issues, right? And I'm like, hey, I don't want to support this Iran war, or I do want to pass the War Powers Act, or, XYZ. What does someone like Mike Johnson come to them with? What are the levers?
Well, he will say to them, as best as you can, Matt or Marjorie, publicly, you got to stand with him as best as you can. I want to stay speaker. I need my majority. If you bail on him, you're going to have a hard time getting back here. So as much as you can, you have to stand by him. And it's really,
you're gonna have a hard time getting back here because what? We're not gonna support your fundraising. We're gonna fundraise for your opponent. Is it
yeah,
about
yeah,
like the fundraising piece of it?
yeah, because Trump controls every dollar. So Johnson will say
Okay.
he'll cut you off. Johnson will say he's going to support a hardcore Trumper in a primary against you. Matt,
This
you
is what
don't
just
want
happened to
that.
Massey. This is like what the Thomas Massey story.
They grabbed a meathead,
Okay.
but he's a hardcore Trumper, and they threw Trump and God's money behind him, and they beat Massey. He can
Okay.
still do that. And in the olden days, leadership would do that, and they'd take away your committee spots. They'd take away a bunch of cushy benefits. They'd take away money. They'd do a lot of things to you. Now that's all done through Trump.
Really? Even to that level, that's interesting. But it's kind of one and the same, I guess we're talking about. It's done through Trump, but Johnson being an instrument of Trump. So
Yeah,
they're
and every
saying,
Republican in the House considers Mike Johnson to be Donald Trump's right-hand man.
okay.
They no longer see a distinction between the executive and the leader of their party in Congress.
And these
Johnson
might be
works for
civic
Trump.
101 questions, Joe, but you've been in those seats. So I didn't know what that pressure and looks like. And you were kind of a rabble rouser in those seats. So they go, look, if you stand against us here, we're going to remove you from any committees you're on. So you'll
Yes.
never be a factor in the way that you want to be a factor in
Yes.
Washington on the issues you care about. It's pretty compelling.
Yes.
Number two, you're probably a pretty shit fundraiser by yourself, and we're a great fundraiser. And we are going to either back you in your reelection campaign, or we're going to fight you, and we're going to put someone up against you, and we're going to defeat you because we can raise more money than God. And, you're stuck.
They'll go to the most generous Republican PACs and lobbying groups and tell them to cut me off.
We're going to cut off your money. Not only are we going to raise against you, we're going to cut off your money and raise against you.
Yeah.
So the threat, just so I'm saying it back. Threat one, you're not going to be effective at the job you sought. Threat two, you're not going to have the job you sought, and someone who's going to vote the way we want them to is going to have your job pretty soon if you don't do this.
And that's what Trump's added the third piece. In the old days, they could take away your microphone. They could cut off your money supply. But now with Trump, because he's a cult leader, he can add the third piece, and we will guarantee you're going to lose a Republican primary.
Because my voters are your voters.
Absolutely. Trump will deliver the primary base.
Right.
Absolutely.
Before, it's like if it's McConnell or someone like that, it's not like McConnell owned Truth Social. He can't speak directly to your voters all the time.
And
right?
I could still run against, say, John Boehner or Kevin McCarthy or McConnell back in the day. Like if they threatened me, if John Boehner back in the day said, Joe, I'm going to find a Republican primary challenger to you, I'd fucking laugh because I own the base. The base loves me. I'm crazy Tea Party Joe Walsh. But Trump now is the king of the base. So Trump can deliver on that.
It seems like there's a lie within there, though, right? There's a lie that you'll ever be able to accomplish your goals in Washington. In that first way, where it's like, we'll remove you from your committees. You won't be influential in our party. It sounds like there's no one actually that's influential in this party. There's one guy who's influential in this party. So it doesn't really matter. You're only in Washington to be an instrument of one guy at this point, if you're in the Republican Party.
Yes. And in the before Trump, see, because of technology, because of what you and I are doing, and because of the way grassroots politics has changed and campaigning has changed, in the very old days when you went to Congress, you were part of a team, a party, and you were a freshman, and you had to pay your dues and work your way up. Now, anybody can go to Congress and instantly they're a free agent. They're a star. I can directly talk to people. Fuck, I don't need leadership. I can talk to the peeps like this. So you become your own CEO.
Is that why Marjorie Taylor Greene and AOC, to a certain extent on the other side, have the power they do despite being relatively new in Congress? Is that those levers are not as available to Trump. Marjorie can actually beef with Trump because Marjorie has her own following and her own base. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
an AOC 30 years ago would not have been possible.
Sure.
A Marjorie, a Joe Walsh, anybody going there as a freshman and all of a sudden becoming their own brand, that was unheard of. The difference on the Republican side, though, is you can become your own brand, but if your brand is different than him, then you're done in the party.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
Marjorie can go off on her own and she's got enough of a following. She'll be fine the rest of her life, but she ain't going to be invited back to that party.
Wow. It's pretty compelling. There's still, it seems to me, it had to be disappointing to you to see so many people that you worked with that you knew had real beliefs, real priorities, basically say okay to that deal. To roll and be like, fine, I want to keep my job. I want to continue on this path in Washington because, I wanted to do XYZ and I still want to make sure that's a possibility. Were you surprised at the volume of people who took that deal? Because there
Yeah,
hasn't been a ton of rollover. Like a lot of
none.
people haven't said fuck that and then fought and lost like Massey did.
Xander, look at how much fun you and I have together. And we agree on a lot of the big important principles, but on policy, you and I disagree a lot.
Sure.
Before Trump, you may find this hard to believe. You'd have sat down with me and we'd have had the same fun relationship, but you'd have sat down with Mike Lee. You would have sat down with Jim Jordan. You would have sat down with Rand Paul. You would have sat down with all of my former freedom loving Tea Party guys before Trump. And you would have been able to dialogue with them. Once Trump came along and they all sold out, that day is over. Which is really, really sad because they don't
That's
do and
interesting,
can't
even
do
on
what
a
I do.
personal level. Even on a personal level, that's been like,
Yeah.
my family knows Jim Jordan well. From
Yes.
Jim Jordan was a wrestler too, so
Yes.
we know the Jordans. His brother Jeff, I know really well.
I
And so
guarantee you, right now, everybody listening to us considers Jim Jordan to be horrible. And especially with your relationship with the Jordan family back in the day, I guarantee you, before Trump came along, you would have had a fine dialogue with Jim Jordan because it would have
do you
been
feel like it's
issues based.
cultish? Do you think it's like now it's cult based? It's just like we're gonna win. It's all slogans, and we're gonna win the next century. We're gonna make America great again. When you dialogue with them privately, what feels
It's changed.
different? Yeah,
I left Trump 8 years ago. When I
sure.
dialogued with them 8, 7, 6, 5, 4 years ago, most of them said to me, Joe, I know he's a piece of shit. This will blow over and the Republicans will be back.
Right, right.
But over time, more true believer MAGA crazies have gotten elected. So there are more true believers now in the House and the Senate. Like
Right.
they believe the shit, and Trump's not going
Mm.
far enough. I mean, look at Marjorie, Xander. Marjorie's disappointed in Trump because he's not MAGA enough. So the true believer caucus has increased, which is scary.
Yeah, it's funny now looking back. All this feels inevitable in some ways, but looking back on it, you can understand the thesis if you're a Republican congressman, and it was kind of validated by him losing in his first term.
Yeah,
You're like, just keep your head down for a couple years. This is some bullshit, but let's not self-immolate right now. This guy will probably lose an upcoming election. The American people are seeing who he is, and he'll be out of here. The second round, definitely his second election victory does make it feel more like not only he'll be around, but it's like an established political movement. It's a political
done.
movement that could lose an election and come back and win another one. And you should
If he
start thinking about.
if he died in his sleep tonight, the Republican Party is still MAGA, and it will remain MAGA and always be MAGA. It's changed.
That's interesting because it wouldn't have been that way in 2019.
No way. Every cycle. I mean, Xander, guys like Paul Ryan would tell me this privately.
Yeah.
Joe, be careful, Joe. Trump's going to be gone after the next election cycle. They said that after 16, after 18, after 20. Um, and I would tell them, no, this is different. But now it's cemented.
It sounds really abstract the way we're talking about it right now or unbelievable, but I've seen guys do the same thing in crypto,
Ah,
in Wall Street, in
interesting.
these industries that don't make a ton of sense. It's hard to explain why they're all why it's a good thing, but they'll speak. Crypto was a really good example of they would
Wow.
say decentralization, like it was obvious that that was a societal good. Like you were
Yeah.
saying, free
Yeah.
food for all or something. Like it's got
Yeah.
to be decentralized. It came from. I think it really piggybacked on a lot of like the kind of post financial crisis distrust that was on the right and left at the time, right? And then decentralized
Yeah.
became a thing.
Yeah.
But you had guys, at first, you had really just weird technologists that were into crypto. And then as the market started going
Mhm.
up on some of these coins, you had like big bankers and serious Wall Street folks and technology, like regular tech VC guys that started speaking in those slogans and
Yeah.
saying those things. Yeah, I was recruited a couple times to do some of the
I
crypto
bet.
efforts, and I would see I was like, "Guys, what are we trying to accomplish? Like, tell me what really happens here." They'd say, it's automated trust, it's decentralized."
Yeah.
But I saw the same thing. It's like this thing switched, and there's this glimmer in their eyes, and it was really about
Yeah.
ambition, personal ambition, and success, and they were on the train. They didn't know how they fucking got on the train or they jumped on the train, but now they're on a train that's going up, 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 and they didn't want to question it. Yeah, I've seen the same. There's like obviously it's well chronicled, like the 80s and 90s in Wall Street. Some of the stuff going on there too.
Hey, Xander, that would be a cool piece. That's a really cool analogy. That makes sense. That's really interesting.
It's like
I got
it's the opposite of Al Gore's like inconvenient truth. It's like
yeah.
convenient lie. It's like it's just too good for
A
me
a
to
a
really
a
steer
a
this.
a question though for you, my young lefty friend.
Yeah,
I love calling you young and lefty.
it's true. Well, the
My
second part's true. The first part is
no, you're
increasingly
young
less
and
true.
you're lefty.
In this
Uh,
space, I'm young.
what um my side became a cult. It became a cult that has embraced an authoritarian. I think the right is more inclined to embrace an authoritarian than the left. But do you think the left in America could ever become a cult, an authoritarian embracing cult?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think populism can. Because the right or left aspect of it ends up kind of being a lie anyways. It's really like, it's not a right or left. It's like nothing about Trump is fucking angling towards a free market and
No,
states' rights. You know what I mean?
no,
So
no, no.
it's really just like, all those guys run on a lie. Hitler ran on a lie that, eventually the German people were going to fucking starve unless they captured like, unless they
Yeah.
expanded and captured, food sources in Ukraine, other places, and everything else in Mein Kampf. So I think everyone's susceptible to it, especially when you are desperate, right? And a lot of these guys come out of desperate or perceived desperate situations. I mean, this has already happened to an extent. It happened in Russia, right? Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Russia. Trotsky's my guy. I fucking love Trotsky. Trotsky and Lenin, were essentially writers and like left
Yes.
wing writers for a long time. They had their own newspaper, and then Germany paid for Lenin
Yeah.
Trotsky to go into Russia and fight
Yeah.
and win. And then unfortunately, Lenin had a stroke, and then Stalin took the reins instead of Trotsky afterwards. And Stalin converted into what he converted into,
Oh
right? It's like
man,
it's
you know that
it's a
history
night.
all too well, Xander. You're so
There's
I'm
a
just kidding.
revolutions podcast that you would geek out on. That's like it gives you like 80 hours of each revolution, like the American, the
That's cool.
French. It's
That's
so
cool.
cool.
That's
But
cool.
but I mean,
The,
there's like
the,
so lots of Fidel Castro. I love Che. I love their like teammates, right?
but the
but
book
but
has
Fidel
always
stayed and owned
the
power.
the book has always been Republicans are the daddy party, Democrats are the mommy party. Republicans always love a strong daddy. That's always kind of
Yeah.
been the book.
What's that guy's name that the professor in Berkeley that wrote the book about like the parental George, I'm forgetting his last name.
Ah,
The parental models basically
yeah, yeah,
of
yeah,
like
yeah,
people
yeah, yeah,
Republicans
yeah,
and
yeah.
Democrats, and Republicans come from a strong father that didn't mind being punitive, would be punitive if they would, and Democrats mostly have a model that's like of kind of nurturing to success, right?
Let's all get around. It takes a village, all that shit. Yeah.
For sure. And so I don't think you're wrong then is like it's easy to see a desire for a strong dad turn into an authoritarian figure. It's like, let's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
put a
yeah.
lot of trust in a strong figure. Also, a lot of people on the right are religious, which also has like a
Yes.
model of a savior, a strong figure,
Boom.
with their own rules and whatnot. So I don't think that's entirely wrong, but there's a lot of fucking history in China and Russia and Cuba that
Oh
says,
yeah. Oh
left-wing
yeah.
movements can turn authoritarian
Oh
too.
yeah.
There's people who want power who are happy to fucking bend it to their will and
Bingo.
dominate people, on both sides. And
Bingo.
so there's a real challenge for us always, always. There's a reason there wasn't a fucking democracy around for like 1700 years after the Roman
Amen.
Republic fell. They're
Amen.
hard.
Amen.
They're hard to get and easy to lose.
Hey, this was a fun, short show.
This was great. All right, thank
This
you.
was really
I was
cool.
dying to ask you this actually, just like what does pressure as a congressman look like?
And
So thank you.
well, and yeah, but the point is, if your be all end all is I have to fucking be a congressman, it's really easy.
That's a big issue.
Yeah, and that's a problem. And it wasn't my be all end all.
Joe, let me ask one question as we're saying
What?
it is one of the antidotes then a really strong independent movement that doesn't have independent movement that starts with developing candidates that have their own comms and personal brand infrastructure that insulates them a little bit more from these risks. Is that it?
I think that's the next great step is
They've got to
forget
be
about,
comms. Got it.
yeah.
Sorry, go
We
ahead.
need a growing movement of independence. Yes,
Interesting.
I think that's the next great step.
Well,
We're not
interesting because we're
beholden
kind
or
of doing
tied.
it here. We're kind of doing it here. Like we are building brands of non-politicians that obviously give a fuck about the country, that are not tethered to any political party, that can have their own base eventually.
And some will run.
And
That's
some
what
will
you're
run.
creating. That's what you're creating.
Interesting. All right,
Very
I'll
cool.
let you run. I know you had just a small
Thanks,
window here.
everybody. Give Xander love. Give me love. Thanks, everybody. Short show today. We'll see you next week.
Later, brother.
Ciao.